So in today's video, guys, I'm going to be going over the best way to improve and keep your mentality in check while you're playing tournaments in Chapter 3 Season 2. Now, mentality is actually a pretty big thing for a lot of competitive players. People don't actually realize how important it is as you're playing. If your mentality begins to slip or fall, then your entire tournament is going to be off the rails. So you need to properly focus on keeping your mentality in check, and that's what I'm going to be going over in today's video. Obviously, be sure to use code SONATAYT in the Fortnite item shop. Let's get right into it. So the first obvious tip for keeping your mentality in check is to go into a tournament setting a realistic goal. You shouldn't enter a tournament thinking that you will place top 500 if you've never placed close to that before. You want to realistically compare your PR and competitive experience to the tournament format and set a realistic goal. That way, if you don't achieve your goal, you can keep the same goal for the next tournament, but if you do achieve it, then you can raise your bar. I see way too many competitive players saying that they want to place a very high placement that they've never even come close to getting before. And the issue with that is that you feel as if you're never actually going to reach it. I'd recommend that you guys try to take baby steps in place as the time goes on. Becoming a pro at Fortnite is not easy, especially in the modern day and age. If you guys were playing back during the OG Winter Royale or OG World Cup days, then obviously becoming a pro is a little bit easier. There was a lot less competition. But nowadays, people are going to be way better, and you guys need to focus on properly placing at the best of your ability. If you're able to properly estimate how high you can place, then the bar that you place will be very realistic, and as soon as you reach it, you can continue increasing the height of your bar. Now the next thing is going to be called the cherry-picking meditation method. This method is widely used by athletes and performers to make them do better, and this is what's going to help you keep your mentality in check after you've had a bad game. It also might help you prevent bad mentality spurts in the middle of your tournament. Basically what you're going to do is before a game or before the tournament entirely, envision yourself as one of the best pro players in the world. You can use anybody. For example, if you're a controller player, you can use Miro. If you're a keyboard player, you can use Tayson. Just use anybody that you think's a really good pro player that you admire and literally imagine yourself being them. Imagine yourself playing the tournament, running through the games, running through the end games, and winning the games as these players. You can close your eyes if it helps, but at the end of it, make sure you imagine yourself achieving your goal. Once again, don't go too crazy with imagining your goal, but make sure that you're realistically achieving what you set for yourself. This is using a technique that's similar to lucid dreaming, where you think that you're actually playing like this pro player, but in reality, even though you're not this person, you're gonna play a lot better. What makes this so powerful is that you're able to envision yourself as one of those amazing players in the world, and it makes you feel as if you have to perform. It keeps your focus intact, and it makes you a lot more susceptible to getting good placements. Then, continue to play on the rest of the tournament while still remaining focused on the basics and fundamentals of the game that you need to improve on. There's not much direct science and neurological information behind this method, but all I know is that it definitely works. This works in pretty much anything in your life. It can work in sports, it can work in Fortnite, it can work in anything that you're doing. This cherry-picking meditation method is something that has helped me drastically with improving my mentality. And especially if you're a player that gets very impatient or annoyed when they die, this is a great thing to do after those games. Now the next tip I would give you guys is to stay consistent throughout all of your games. I'd recommend you stay consistent with stuff like your drop spot, loot route, rotation strategies, and fighting techniques. What this is going to help you with is make sure that you get really good at doing one of your strategies. What is important though is that you have a good strategy going into the tournament. You need to analyze the season's meta, and then you need to properly understand what strategy to apply. This season's brand new meta is definitely going to be using the combination of the new movement abilities with the new weapons and being able to use them during the mid game and the end game effectively. The early game is actually pretty easy to get past as soon as you get good at off-spawn fighting, but once you're in the mid game, you need to make sure that you take fights wisely, and if you're being W-keyed, be sure to win your fights. At this point in the Fortnite timeline, a lot of people have gotten very good at fighting. You're going to be a much better player. But overall, the new meta this season is using the new movement abilities and the new weapons to help you get as far into the game as you possibly can. If you're able to stay very consistent with all of these strategies, drop spots, loot routes, and techniques, it's going to help you perfect your strategy to the best of your ability as long as you go into it with an intelligent mindset. An example of this could be if you die one game, but you still have 5 games left and you have 20 minutes to play out these games, you might be telling yourself that you should W-key a couple of these games. And while that isn't necessarily a bad idea, if you're a less experienced comp player, one of the better options would be to just queue up and play out your next couple games and try to get the highest possible placement. People don't realize that PR is much more important than aiming for earnings every single time. If you're able to get PR, it's going to build up your competitive profile and your experience, and you're more likely to get better teammates in the future who will help you in return get earnings. This is one of the more underrated tips for new age comp players. And I'd recommend you guys also consider taking a look at some of those guys. An example of some new age comp players could be possibly Day and Miro. Those two didn't really show up very much until the emergence of Chapter 2 Season 4. That's when they won their first FNCS with Reverse 2K. But I'd recommend you guys try to review players like that. Understand how all of these new players such as Vadil, Noah Riley, Miro, Day, understand how all of them popped up right after Chapter 2 started, and analyze what they did to get really good. And while all of them may have some differing views, try to come up with a general consensus for what you need to do. Now the last thing that can really help you improve your mentality, this is going to be VOD reviewing 1 to 2 hours after the tournament ends and take some notes. VOD reviewing the day you play the tournament is a really good idea because it helps you identify your mistakes while the game history is still fresh in your mind. However, one thing I would recommend is that you get rid of all thoughts blaming the game for some reason that you died, and just realize that you're the common denominator in all of your games and you need to improve something. Even if it's not necessarily true, I'd still recommend you do it because that's actually the mentality that most pro players use in order to improve. If you're able to VOD review the day that you do play the tournament, it's going to help you identify the small tiny mistakes that you still remember, but it also helps you have notes and changes ready for the next couple days of training that follow. You guys can take these notes and apply them during scrims, and I see way too many people skipping VOD review sessions just to mess around with their friends in Zone Wars. While that is fun, it's still really important for you guys to improve at competitive by VOD reviewing. And now the final tip I'll give you guys for improving your mentality is to just take a break if you're really stressed out. Now this kind of seems like an obvious one that a lot of people go over, but if you're not playing the best, just get up, go take a walk, go drink a glass of water, do anything. Do anything that takes your mind off of Fortnite. You can go on TikTok, you can go on Instagram, you can go on Snapchat, do anything that takes your mind off of the game. What'll help you the most is getting away from the game and then coming back to it with a clean mindset. This is also used by many athletes all around the world who play many different sports. It's really important to set your mind away from the thing that you're doing so that you can come back to it and attack it from a different angle. It's really important that we see problems that are bigger than just black and white. We need to see problems and attack them from different angles if one approach is not working. And if you continue getting successful with all of these various tips that I gave you guys, your mentality is definitely going to improve. You just need to stay consistent with it. That's the biggest thing. Anyways guys, that is the video on how to improve your mentality in Chapter 3 Season 2. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider dropping a like and subscribing to the channel down below. This video was really fun for me to make and I really enjoyed helping you guys out with how to improve your mentality. It's something that I struggled with a lot back in my comp career, but now my mentality is pretty much perfect. I never really get angry when I'm playing a competitive event. But that's about it for this video guys. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel and I will see you all in the next video. Bye guys.